Gamers, welcome. For those that are not aware, I have been to the N4C Tournament, the first LAN tournament for Age of Empires 4, and we got this baby. And I'm here today to kind of give you guys a little bit of a, what happened, my experience there, and how I liked it, and all the other good stuff. By the way, this one's really cool. I really like it. It's the Berlin Bear, but it's like custom made with all this stuff. I think it looks really cool. Anyway, so obviously very happy about the tournament win. No question about that. I don't think I need to be like, say how I feel about that. I was obviously ecstatic. I was super happy about it. But here today, we're going to be discussing my experience there with the other players, with production casters, what I think about the event, what did I think about the dreaded speech at the end of the tournament, and just kind of my thought process behind some of my picks, right? So first things first, I went there with Whammon, aka Marika, aka my girlfriend. We went there, Nilly and the whole production crew, everyone was super accommodating to me, to all the players. I have celiac disease, as some of you may know, some of you may not, so I need like special food for myself. They were all super accommodating. We had food every day. It was really fun. We were getting tested for COVID every single morning at the hotel to make sure that, there was no outbreaks while there. And, when we arrived, the apartment was huge. Like, the apartment that we played at was huge. Like, huge apartment. So, all the players had their own computer from day one. We all got given a computer. There was a practice room where we could practice as much as we wanted. I think we could have stayed there till 3 a.m. every day and come as early as like 9 a.m. And whenever we played, we would take that PC and then we would put it in the tournament room where the 1-1 matches were played. So like all the settings were same, all the players were like comfortable with their computers. And I thought that was great. That's something that tournaments in StarCraft 2 do, and we suggested it to Nilly, and he did it, so that was great. Did you bring your own keyboard? Of course. Every player brought their own gear, obviously. And so regarding that, that's kind of how it went. We would wake up pretty late because most of our matches were in the evening, like starting like 7, 8. So I didn't want to wake up at like 9 a.m. because, I'd be tired by the time I was playing. Regarding people there, like everyone was great, honestly. Like I wish I could say there was like a shitter there that I didn't like, but everyone was super friendly, super nice. No one made any drama or issues or whatever. Like it was just a super friendly atmosphere, right? Like I'm not gonna mention every single person how they were, but I had no issues with anyone. It was a bunch of nerds, right, talking about the game all day. We were discussing like strats, discussing what's good, sharing opinions. Sometimes, like, let's say Viper and Demazen were practicing and like the other 6 players would be watching and discussing the games when we had no official matches. So it was just a cool, like, it reminded me of like a LAN party where we were just hanging out and it just stopped players discussing strats. And I actually said this to the other players. Like, I feel like during the 10 days there at the event, we pushed the meta in AOE4 by like a month and a half to 2 months. Because we all came with expectation of like which civs are good and stuff. But we all like just push the meta so hard. I don't mean this as like, oh my god, it's like going to be so hard to come back to ladder. But whenever I watch someone from a tournament play ladder games, the opponents were using extremely like outdated strats, even though they were from a week ago. But because we've discussed the meta so much and things, we've kind of progressed at a much faster pace, I would say, while we were there. And a lot of the things that we thought would work didn't work anymore because we kind of together figure out the counters and all that. Even some civs we thought were decent or good at some maps, they were not, and vice versa. Like for example, I think I was the first one at the event to pull HRE on Altai, and no one played it at that point. And I pulled it to counter Abbasid and China, and then a lot of the players started picking HRE on Altai, right? So then it went from Altai being China, Abbasid kind of pick to people like I picked HRE versus Lenok in the group stage. It was this match. and then people started peeking H3 on Altai, but then people started peeking like aggressive civs on Altai, expecting HRE. So there was a lot of like meta gaming from day to day, I feel like. Like every day we would learn something new, and then the next day you could see the picks are shifting and switching from player to player. It was really cool. Like, honestly, for a gamer nerd, you know, time would fly by. Like, we would arrive at the venue, aka the apartment where we played at like 11, 12, and we would stay there till 2 a.m. every day. And like time would fly by completely. Like you would not notice like, oh, I'm bored. It was just super fun. It was obviously 6 StarCraft 2 players, 1 Age of Mythology player, and 1 AOE2 player. And initially, you know, I'll share some like funny stories obviously with this as well. But when Viper wasn't doing well, a lot of people thought he would do better, and we kind of didn't know how to approach it, right? Because like no one really knows Viper, right? We've never met him. Then he started kind of trolling himself a little bit when he was 0-4 and when he was out. So everyone started kind of making, you know, fun of him, and then he was making fun of us back. So it was just a friendly, like super friendly atmosphere. Viper, I think, took the losses really well. And if you're a Viper fan, I think you can expect a lot of practice from him for Golden League. So he's not the kind of guy to back down and just kind of chill. I think he's gonna try really hard to do better, and I don't think this was the result he wanted or was expecting. And yeah, everyone was practicing their ass off, discussing and all that, so that was great fun. The casters, like in between the games, we would discuss with the casters. I casted a couple of times as well. I think I casted maybe 3 times during the event. You know, the first day I was casting MarineLord versus Lucifron, as you can see there. But before that, I played against Vortex. So when I said yes to the casting, just before, day before, I was like, wait, if I lose against Vortex, then I need to go cast instantly. I was like, that's gonna suck. Luckily, I ended up winning, so yeah, it was fine for casting. But yeah, the casting was fun. I casted with Aussie Drongo. I casted with Grubby as well, and it went super nice. Like a lot of people were like impressed by my casting, which you know guys, I never casted StarCraft 2. I never casted in general, but apparently they liked it. They thought I did a good job, and I was like, oh, great. Because I had like a little bit more of a serious approach, you know. I wasn't like trolling, you know. I kind of tried to be a little bit more professional, right? Who practiced the most in the game room? Probably MarineLord, Vortex, and Viper. Honestly, like, I think other players will tell you this as well. I probably practiced the least out of anyone there. I would play one warm-up game before my match, and I would play about 5 matches versus AI where I practice going to feudal, because we would know the matchup for first match like 30 minutes before the match. So I would just play against AI the opener on that map and get comfortable with it. I thought a lot about the games. Like, I spent a lot of time thinking and kind of thinking how I should play the matches out, but I didn't really practice while I was there. I was playing table tennis a lot, to be honest. Yeah, I just loved playing table tennis, and it was like in a way it was a warm-up for me, because it was, you know, fun just moving around and playing and so on and so forth. Yeah, there was like a table tennis. There was like this big, by the way. It was tiny, and it was just fun, you know. You didn't play any practice games before the matches? No, I just played against AI a bit. Like, one thing that I thought was very important was, like, when I would play the match for that day, for the rest of the day, I wouldn't do anything. Like, I would just chill, I would hang out with people, and I would play, like, table tennis or just hang out. Because I thought, if I win and then instantly go into, like, okay, I gotta do more, I'll overdo it, and then the tomorrow will not be as good, because I felt like I needed to just rest my brain and just chill. And then when I would come in the morning or afternoon at the venue, that's when I would be alone for like an hour, 2 or 3, and then just kind of think about the games, think about the matchup for that day, think about which opponent I'm playing and stuff like that. So that was kind of my approach to it. I think before semifinals and finals, I played like 4 or 5 real games before it. But most of the time I was just kind of either practicing build orders or kind of theory crafting more so than actually practicing. Because there was another issue, by the way. Playing ladder was awful. I think first day I queued up ladder and I met B, who just stonewalled in feudal and then did stone towers everywhere. And I was just like, this is such a waste of time, because if you don't know, at N4C Tournament, feudal stone walls were banned as well as stone towers. So I was just like, this is a waste of time, because I'm not gonna play against this in the tournament. And the problem was finding practice partners to play against in custom games, because the best players were at the tournament and nobody wanted to play against one another, right? Until they either played already or they're out of the tournament because they didn't want to reveal strats, right? Maybe I played like 15 custom games in total, I would say. 15-20 games custom in total over my time there. I mean, I thought the practice games were good. I just didn't want to overdo it. That's the point. Now, what did I think about the results? I know a lot of people are going to ask me about this. I'll quickly go over my matches. I'm not going to go over every single match, but, you know, I am sharing my experience, right? So, my games against Vortex were kind of weird, like, especially the last two. He even said, like, I never played games like those, and I'm like, well, I have. So, yeah, it went pretty well. I thought Vortex was one of the better players at the tournament, so I knew that if I win, I'll kind of have, like, a good start mentally for myself. And once I won that 3-1, I felt really good. My next opponent was Lenok, which, as you guys know, if you ever watch my stream, I am super, super confident against Lenok. I'm super fine playing against him. We played some custom games before I went to N4C. I won every single game. Whenever I play him on ladder, I win most of the games. So I was very happy with that pick. Lenok is very good. Like, he's extremely fast. His multitasking is very good. But I don't know if it's Clash of Styles or what. I just felt, I was like, great, you know. So yeah, played against Lenok, won 3-1. The games against Lenok were pretty funny, especially the high view one where he beat me. It was a massacre, just killing villagers back and forth. Then day 3, because MarineLord and I were both 2-0, we were playing each other. And honestly, I wasn't too concerned if I'm going to advance or not at that point, because I felt like if I beat Vortex, and I beat Lenok as well, I have 2 wins, so the only thing I needed to do is do another, beat another player here or here in order to advance. So I was like, you know, I'm not going to put pressure on myself. Whatever happens with MarineLord doesn't really matter as long as I perform well in the other ones. And I knew there's a high chance of me playing MarineLord in the playoffs as well, because he was a favorite coming into the tournament. I won the first game, and I got a lot of shit online for it. A lot. So people flame me a fuck ton. People were messaging me on Twitch, like insulting me. People were calling me asshole and arrogant on forums. And why? Because, like, I made a stone tower or siege tower against MarineLord in game 1 as I was winning. Like, you know, kind of like a manor mule in StarCraft. I did that, and people fucking went insane over it. And I was just like, bruh, it's just a fucking, like, what? And, like, MarineLord never fucking batted an eye to that. Like, he was never like, oh, that was fucked up. He never said that. We were laughing about it later, and he's like, you fucking cook when you make a toe against me, you know? Like, no one, everyone was, like, laughing. The casters, like, after the game found it funny. Like, everyone there found it funny. Like, there was no issue. And until I started receiving the messages, and I was just like, was it that bad? Holy fuck. So yeah, I got a lot of like, this guy is so arrogant, I hope he loses. This is not sportsmanship. What a terrible attitude. And I was just like, the fuck? It was just weird. Like, I was like, especially, by the way, I practiced with MarineLord before we came to the event. Like, it's not like I never talked to MarineLord and I'm like, you shit, right? We practiced together. I know MarineLord for like 10 years. Yeah, game number 2 versus MarineLord, game number 3. I kind of feel like these 2 games, I think I could have won both of them. It's one of those things like, different day, different decisions. Could have been a 3-0, was not. I think King of the Hill, I thought he played well. I kind of did like trap push in the middle for those that watch the games. It was kind of bad decision making from me there. He deserved to win it. And then Altai, it was a clown fiesta game. It was super, super close. If you didn't watch it, watch it. That game was funny. And then Mongolian Heights, he had a better build and he just got to feudal faster, killed my boats, and I was like, fuck it. And then the knight killed my villager, so I was just like GG in like 5 minutes. So I lost, but you know, I wasn't like too upset about it, like I said, because I knew if I win one more, I'll be good to go. Then I played Mista. The games were very close. Mista was one of the players that I didn't have a lot of info on, like how he plays. I haven't played against him. Or maybe I did, but I don't know. And I didn't have a real feel on how he plays. And his style and my style are very different. And it's funny because he didn't want to play against me after this, and I didn't want to play against him. He doesn't have a weird style, he just has a unique style, right? He plays his own game, which I do as well, right? I play differently than other players. And I just felt very uncomfortable playing against him. Like, I didn't quite know what he was going to do and the strats he's going to do. And, you know, I don't like playing those kinds of games. I like to kind of know what to expect. So for me, it was very hard playing against him. Game 5, if you didn't watch it, watch it. It was an insane game. And yeah, he was a very hard opponent. And after we finished, he was like, I don't want to meet you at the playoffs because I don't like to play against your style. I'm like, I don't want to meet you either. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And he's like, yeah. And then last day, so yeah, in day 4, I secured top 2, so that means I was going to semifinals. So if you're top 2, you go semifinals. If you're ranked 3, 4, 5, or 6, you go into quarterfinals. So day 5, I didn't care as much about. I tried to win. I'm not gonna say I didn't want to or didn't try. I tried to win, but there was no like focus, passion behind it because I knew I was through, and that was kind of my main goal. You know, when I was top 2, I was like, whatever. So yeah, the Mazin beat me 3-2, and then I still, like, the results didn't change. I stayed as second place, especially because MarineLord beat Mista. So even if I beat the Mazin, I would have still been second place in the group stage. So didn't really matter at the end of the day. Then the playoffs. So I'm going to discuss every result. So Linok Mista. So if you guys watched or didn't watch, welcome. You're about to get some, you know, knowledge. Mista at this point was leading 3-1. And if he won game 4, it would have been a 4-1 and it would have been over, right? I can't remember what happened in their high view game. I know it was a mirror, but I can't remember what happened. And then once he lost that, it kind of just went downhill from there. And the thing is, Linok winning with Rus was actually a huge thing for him because Linok doesn't play Rus a lot. So the fact that he was able to grab that win and then win with Abbasid, HRE with China, which are all civs he plays a lot, were like very, very important to him. I think that Mista here made a mistake when I think picking English and Altai was good into Abbasid. Not good, but it's not like English counters it, but it was a fine decision. But last 2 maps, he knew it's HRE or China for both players. So what I would do if I were him, I would have picked China on Hill and Dale and just tried something because HRE counters China, for those that don't know. So what I would have done, it was kind of obvious that Linok is going to pick HRE on Hill and Dale because that's what he's been doing. So I would have picked China on Mongolian Heights and then, or sorry, on Hill and Dale to not go for the mirror, and then Mista would have clean and easy Mongolian Heights HRE versus China. But I think maybe Mista thought that Linok was going to pick China on Hill and Dale. I don't know. It's one of those things where if he did a different pick, maybe it would have gone different. But, you know, that's with every game and every pro game, right? If someone did something different, the situation would have been different. So it is what it is. And yeah. Demazin versus Vortex. I mean, I feel like a lot of games in this tournament, I've seen a lot of comments, like every time someone would lose in playoffs, people would say, oh, this guy won, but the other guy just didn't play his game. That can happen, right? But obviously every time a winner wins, the loser is going to look much worse than they usually are, right? It's not like a guy loses 4-0 and then he still looks amazing, right? Obviously, there's a difference if the games are closer between them. But in order for someone to play really well, someone has to play worse, right? So there were a lot of comments like, "Oh, this person just played bad, that's why they lost." It's like, well, yeah, that's how competitive gaming and sports works. Like, one guy played better than the other, or one guy played worse than the other. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is. So yeah, the Muslim versus Vortex, I do feel like it was one-sided. Now again, you can say like, oh, the Muslim didn't have his day, or maybe Vortex just had a better style. I don't know, but it was I think it was pretty quick series as well. MarineLord versus Lenok. Now this is the biggest, not controversial match, but biggest like wow of the tournament, I would say. So MarineLord Lenok, everyone, including me, you know, coming into this tournament, MarineLord was the favorite, and everyone thought MarineLord would win like a 4-1 or 4-2. And Lenok kind of wrecked him. These games, if you guys didn't watch, they were not really close, I would say. Like, they were kind of one-sided. I don't think MarineLord played terrible in terms of mechanics, but I do think that maybe he tried to do things to Lenok while Lenok just played his own game, didn't take any damage, and he kind of went bad and worse into the result that it was for MarineLord. I actually asked MarineLord, like, do you think you played bad? And he said no. And I said, did you like this like civ picks? Do you think you got like stuff you didn't want? And he said, no, I got everything that I wanted. And I was like, so why did you lose? And he's like, I don't know. So MarineLord didn't feel like he played bad, but again, all the 600 to 800 elo people thought he played terrible, and that's why Lenok won. I personally think Lenok played great in that series. I think he was on point. And did MarineLord play his absolute best? I mean, no one that loses plays his absolute best, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things that's obvious, right? If you play your absolute best, absolute perfect, you would win. So, yeah. I thought Lenok played really well. I think MarineLord maybe tried too many things to kind of throw off Lenok, and it just kind of didn't work. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but there was like a mini show match before the tournament, like a week before the tournament, and Lenok actually beat MarineLord 2-1, and then Lenok then proceeded to beat Viper 3-2 and win it. I don't know if that had any effect on MarineLord going into it, because when we arrived at the event, he thought that Lenok is good, and he thought that people are underestimating him. So maybe he felt that, oh, Lenok is good, I'm better, but maybe he still felt the need to try something. I don't know, but I can tell you, like I said, what he told me, he didn't feel like he played bad. That's the result. So, yeah. We didn't make fun of him when he lost, even though he was making fun of everyone the whole time whenever they lost or whatever, because, we knew he's kind of going to be super bummed out, so we were like, we'll make fun of him tomorrow, but then he didn't show up tomorrow, so we kind of missed on the opportunity. Me against Vortex. Now, Vortex is the kind of player who likes to counterpick a lot. He kind of likes to do what I like to do. I mean, everyone wants to counterpick, right? But he really goes into which player is going to play what on which map. He checks the ladder match history from each player for like their smurfs and sees what the most common pick civs on each map are for the player. Like, he really goes into it. So obviously I knew that that's how he plays. So what I did was I actually didn't prepare too much for this match in terms of civ picks, because I figured if I don't plan anything, he can't plan against me. So I tried to not take the same picks as I usually do. And that way he might counter himself, if that makes sense. Like, that was seriously my approach. I was like, if I just do stupid picks, he can't counter it. So, for example, the first map was Hill and Dale. So, on Hill and Dale, I played Mongols throughout the whole tournament. But against him, I played HRE. So I figured the logical thing would be to not pick HRE on the first map against him. I played it already. So what I did is I picked HRE on the first map. Because I mean, maybe it didn't work at all. Who the fuck knows, right? I didn't ask him about it. I don't know what he was expecting on Hill and Dale. But that was my thought process. I was like, I'll pick HRE because I don't think he'll expect it. And I was playing a lot of Mongols on Hill and Dale in the first place. And, you know, for better or worse, it did work out. I did win that matchup, and I felt like the first game was like very one-sided as well. Worked out great for me. Gave me a good little confidence boost. And then onwards, we just kept trading games back and forth. This game, I lost French versus English, but I had like 15 workers versus 60, and I made the game go on for like 15, 20 more minutes, which I lost, but I still felt good about it. English was my worst civ as well. One Mongolian Heights. Lipany. What the hell happened here? Oh, this is where I tried the... I tried a Barbican Rush into Tower Rush. It did not work, but it was funny. So, I never played China and Lipany, honestly. But I knew that he might pick Abbasid on Lipany because of the civs he previously used. I know that he liked to play Rus on Highview. I assumed he would pick Chinese on Altai or Abbasid. But if you look at the other matchups, I was like, he probably had... Like, at this point, you can kind of deduct what he has left and what the chances are he's going to pick what based on his previous games. So that's when I started kind of thinking more about picks. And I figured he's going to pick Abbasid. I picked China to kind of throw it away because I think Abbasid is best or second best civ right now. So I was very happy that, you know, I played French into his English because my English is not good. I lost that, then I played China into Abbasid, lost it, but I wasted his good civ. Then on King of the Hill, I was very confident. I think this is the one civ and one map that I played every single time. I think in all my series, I always played French on King of the Hill. Except against Lenok, and funny enough, I lost that game. Every other match, I played French on King of the Hill, and it worked out great for me. I had the strategy nailed down, and I don't really think anyone has a clear counter to what I was doing. So it just kept going well for me, and I think this is one of the games where he picked Mongols on purpose against French. I guess the plan didn't work out, but yeah, I felt very comfortable. And actually, my most picked civ in the tournament was French, which, if someone told me that without proper stats, I would say, no, that's not true. But apparently it was. I picked French in every single match that I played. I played it once. And another thing, a fun fact, my lowest win rate in the whole tournament, lowest win rate civ, was Mongols. And I think I went 1-4 or 1-5 with Mongols. And the one game that I won was versus Mista, who hasn't lost against Mongols with French. So I beat Mista's French with my Mongols. They didn't beat anyone else, but he hasn't lost against Mongols. So I thought that was pretty funny. I'll talk about the Mongol when I do the N4C tier list for civs. I'll talk about the civ win rates that happened there because there's stats about it. I'll kind of discuss it further, so I don't want to play it too much there. So I thought this is where I win versus Vortex. I thought, oh, it's going to be a 4-2. I had Mongol versus Rus. I was super confident in it. I was like, this is fucking great for me. And I don't know what the fuck happened, to be honest. I mean, I know what happened, but I don't know how I threw that. I defended the initial push really well, and I went castle, and I started making units. So the mistake that I made was I defended his first push, and I sent like 4 Lancers around to counter harass, and then he just had so many units pushed again, and I just started bleeding units more and more. I couldn't recover, and from then on, he just played it really well. He had 3 archer ranges, and he had so many archers, he was actually killing my men-at-arms and lancers with it. So that game kind of turned clowny, and I ended up losing it. And I was like, oh god, this is not good, because I thought I had it in that game. But going into Altai, I knew that the last matchup is Abbasid versus China, which I was very, very, once again, confident, but I was kind of like, oh, what? I was confident in the previous one, but I lost, so I got to be careful. And I was worried he's gonna do a Barbican rush, because that's what he did in versus was it the Muslim? Yeah, he did a Barbican rush against the Muslim, and I made double scout with Abbasid, which I don't usually do, just to make sure I don't see any villagers moving across. He didn't. He went for a boom, and I was like, I had a sigh of relief. Like, I was like, fuck yes, I'm not getting cheesed. If I get to castle, I'm fine, because I think that Abbasid counters China quite a bit because of the all the siege stuff you can build on the field. So basically, China can never outmatch you in siege numbers. So I felt super good about that, and once I started pushing, I felt great, and I was like, I got it. I don't want to overcommit. I'm just chilling. I'll deny him resources, and that's it. Do you want to frustrate Vortex but not leaving the high view game? Well, there's two things I want to say about that. Whenever I get some insane comebacks, and you know, whether it's in tournament or ladder, I had some crazy comebacks. Like, you should have never won that. People always say, like, that's why you shouldn't leave games, right? But then when I have a game that's also like that on high view, people are like, what the fuck, you're wasting time, you should have left. It's like, yeah, but if I came back, then people would have said that's why you don't leave games. So another thing people don't consider is I don't have the full map vision. So I didn't know how many workers he had on high view. You guys might have seen like 70 workers versus 10, but I don't know how many workers he had. I didn't know how many TCs he was on. I didn't know where his army was. So it's hard for me to be like, okay, I'm dead. But at the same time, why not try? Like, I had a couple of Lancers. I was like, maybe if I kill enough villagers, who knows? Maybe I'll just tire my opponent out. So I just kept playing. But obviously, even if I know the game is like 99.9% lost, I'll still play it to have a chance to win. But even if there's almost no chance of winning, I'll stay in the game to drag it out as much as possible to tire my opponent out. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a tournament. It's a best of 7. My best of 7 against it was like 3 hours. So I don't think it's a bad choice. Yeah, like, I mean, Mist is in the chat. Imagine if Mista gave up against the Muslim in those 2 games he sniped landmarks. Technically, he should have never won those games, right? One of the games he was half the supply. So like, logically he should have left, right? But he stayed in and he got the wins. Sometimes those wins happen. So, and fatiguing your opponent is a legit strategy, whether it's a game or sports. So, yeah. And then going into the finals, if you guys don't know or didn't know, it was a best of 9. So basically, because there were 7 maps in the map pool and 8 civs, the rules were you cannot ban any civs for the first 8 games, and then if the match comes to a 9th game, we ban 1 civ for the opponent. So that's why you see Delhi here, because we had no bans for the first 8 games. And each player, because there were 7 maps, each player picked 1 home map that can be replayed. So my home map was Mongolian Heights, because I knew that is Linux worst map, and Linux home map was Lipany. So for example, if I played match, and first map was random. So if map 1 I lost, I could have picked Mongolian Heights again. That's how it works. Now, maps were randomly drawn for playoffs, by the way, the first map, and when I got Mongolian Heights, I was super happy, right? I knew that this was Linux worst map. I knew that it's most likely going to be a free win for me. And starting off the best of 7 with a win is huge. And I actually think that I might be wrong, but in every single best of 5, 7, or 9 I played, I won my first match. Yeah, in all of them, I won my first match, which I thought was very important for the mental part of the whole thing. Yeah, so I got this question a lot with Arbiter saying, why didn't Linux pick his own map? Because Lipany wasn't picked once. Okay, before the finals, I spent about 2 hours going through. I opened Paint and I had a bunch of fucking numbers, I had a bunch of text on it, a bunch of, civs crossed, and thinking what Linux was picking before, the odds of him picking which civ on which map, checking his match history on ladder. And I knew that Linux doesn't like to stray away from what he's used to, so I knew that there's a high chance he will follow the same pattern. They showed the Paint on the stream, by the way. I know, I didn't care. I told him it was fine. What ended up happening was, first game, I knew that he will pick English or China. And one thing you have to consider in best of 7 or 9, you can deduct and you can kind of solve like a puzzle on what the opponent can/will play. So we played Mongolian Heights. I knew it's going to be English or China. I saw English. I was very happy because I knew what that meant for me. And, you know, I knew that I have a good advantage there. And I was like, great, 1-0. So we played. I won. Very nice. It was a very dominant game. I played it very slow, methodical, and it worked. He didn't have, like... maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he had any chance of winning that game at any point. It was just like very... I just kind of choked him out and just pushed him. Second game was King of the Hill. I felt so confident. I knew that he knows I'm going to pick French, but I felt so confident in that pick. I didn't mind repeating it, and Leenock played a lot of Mongol on King of the Hill, as well as Abbasid and French. So I was like, okay, if he picks Abbasid, that's his best civ probably. Goes into my French. Maybe I can do some pressure, maybe I can win. If it's a French mirror, he won in the group stage, but maybe I can do better. And then if it's Mongols, I'm super comfortable. So I went with French, I won that too. Then he picked Altai. Now this is the one thing I didn't know about this best of 9 is which map he's gonna pick Delhi on. So I figured, because he hasn't picked Abbasid yet, or China, I thought he's gonna pick either, obviously, Delhi's potential for any map, because it can work on any map. But I figured he's gonna pick Delhi, Abbasid, or China. But I thought he would pick Abbasid or China. Like, that was my process of thinking. And I was like, okay, my worst civ is English. So if he picks China and Abbasid, those are probably his two best civs, and I waste my English, even if I lose, that's great for me for the best of 9, right? Like that in the long run, that's really good for me. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to use your best civ against your opponent's worst civ. Like if you pick Delhi, you want to take out a good civ, you know? That's kind of what matters and what makes sense. So when we did the picks, I saw Delhi and I was fucking happy. Like, I don't know if they showed it on camera. Like, I smiled when I saw the pick. I was like, yes. Like, I was super happy. Because I was like, fuck it. I'll lose with English. I'll put some pressure. Maybe I do well. Maybe I don't. The game started. Didn't go too well for me. The start, he kind of just slowed down. And I was very far behind. And I thought, okay, he has no scouting. He doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm going to go triple stable and just try to do mass knight counterattacks while I break the keep with trebuchet. And I think he just fell apart. Like, I was microing knights at 4 different sides that game for like 15 minutes. Yeah, I made a sick comeback. And again, this was one of those games where I should have left, right? But I made a sick comeback and I won that. And when I won that, I was like I'm winning this whole thing, right? Because I was 3-0 up. He used Delhi. He used Mongols. And I still had Mongolian Heights that I can pick. Let's not forget, that's my home map. And that's his worst map. So I was super confident. So now, he picked Dry Arabia. And Leenock on Dry Arabia, he played China before. He played Abbasid mostly. And he played Mongols. So Mongols were gone. I didn't think he was going to pick China, because I figured he might try save China for Hill and Dare or Mongolian Heights. Because remember at the start, the 2 civs he played on Mongolian Heights, or 3 I guess, were HRE, China, and English, right? So I figured there's no way he's going to pick China on Dry Arabia, because he needs to play HRE and China on Hill and Dale and Mongolian Heights. So I figured it's going to be Abbasid. Delhi's broken, so I should pick Delhi on Dry Arabia and beat his best civ with my best civ. And if I do that, that is completely securing the win. I kind of went for a little risk. I could have thrown down a worse civ at him. But honestly, I played like Rus, French, and English at that point. So those are not my top civs. So I kind of had like Mongols, Delhi, Abbasid left, and China. I could have taken China, but I was like, no, I'm going to go with Delhi. I'm pretty confident. That game went really well for me. You know, I think Delhi beats Abbasid pretty hard. So when I saw the matchup, I was a bit worried, but I was very happy. Did not go well for him again, and it was a 4-0, and then it was a Hill and Dale. So Hill and Dale, I figured that he's going to pick HRE or China, because he had HRE, China, and Rus left. So I figured he's going to pick HRE, and I thought I purposely picked Mongols into it. I kind of played it bad, to be honest. And I overcommitted with Lancers trying to finish the game. And then he got Palace of Swabia, aka the Printer, and he just came back and fucking rinsed me. So even with that loss, I was super confident because the next 2 maps, or 3 maps, I guess, were Highview, Lipany again, and Mongolian Heights, if we were to get to that point. So, someone asked, why didn't he pick Lipany? Because he was not picking Lipany the whole time, and he didn't pick China, I started thinking, I think it was around game 4, game 5, that he's saving China for Lipany, and he was waiting for me to use HRE. So this is something I forgot to mention earlier. So, like, if you pick your home map, which for him was Lipany, it makes sense to pick its 2nd or 3rd game, right? Because that's your best map. You kind of want to get a win. But the fact that he wasn't picking it, and he picked China previously, I think in the tournament or in the ladder a lot, on Lipany, I figured he's waiting for me to use HRE and then he will pick it. So I purposely held my HRE back because of it. And as the games went, you could see he just didn't pick Lipany. And as the Civ pool became smaller and smaller, it was kind of running into HRE versus China anyway. For those that don't know, in our first match here, when we played Altai, I picked HRE into China. It was very one-sided. So, yeah. Healandale, he picked HRE, I picked Mongols. I was fine with that. I misplayed it. He played well. I lost. And then Highview was his next map pick. Or no, Highview was my map pick, sorry, because I lost. The reason why I picked Highview instead of Mongolian Heights is because he was going to pick China on it. He doesn't have a lot of experience with Rus and Mongolian Heights. So I knew that he would pick China on it, and then I would pick HRE, and I'm not quite sure what that matchup would have looked like. So I felt more comfortable in Abbasid versus Rus, because there's no way he's going to pick China on Highview. But I actually thought, so the civs that he had left were China, Rus, and French. If you guys don't know, Abbasid Omega counters French. Like, you can play terrible as Abbasid, and you can still win. So I felt, okay, he's not going to pick China on Highview. If he picks French, I free win. And if he picks Rus, I don't mind that, right? So we went into the game, and I saw he was going for Castle Rush, and I knew I won. Like, the moment I saw him rushing Castle, I knew I won, because that shit does not work against Abbasid. He reached Castle, I saw Man-at-Arms coming, I kept, like, running around buying time. Once I defended it, I knew I was in a great spot, because I had double TC. And when I started pushing, like, you can see before the game ended, I was like super happy about it, because I knew I won. I knew he kind of has no chance of defending that. And yeah, managed to win. Poggers. I thought the finals was well planned out for me. Again, you know, I've seen a lot of comments like, how did he beat MarineLord and then lose this badly? Like, I don't know, but maybe Lenok has like a mental block against me because he's lost so many games previously against me. Maybe he played worse than he usually does. Maybe I played better than I usually do. I don't know, but I felt like I was like super on point for the finals. Like, I was so confident. I was scouting everything. I don't know if you guys saw the AOE world stats, but in 4 out of the 6 games, I had more APM than him. Like, I was on fucking fire. Like, I was playing super fast. And you guys know that Linux plays fast as fuck. Overall, I think my biggest strength in the whole tournament was drafting. I think maybe other than 5-6 maps, I pretty much had the draft that I wanted throughout the whole tournament. Obviously, I didn't win every game, but I got the matchups that I wanted for, you know, one way or another. Yeah, the rating versus Lenok was really good. I feel like he couldn't keep up defensively, and, you know, he ended up losing. Now, a lot of people asked, you know, what happened with MarineLord. I got some, like, after I won, I won't say who, but some players were like, yeah, you know, MarineLord lost, but he's still the best player, which I kind of thought it was a weird comment to make, especially because I was, like, right there 5 minutes after winning the tournament. So that was kind of weird champ for me. And a lot of people asked me how would that final go. I don't know. I'm not going to say I would have 100%. I'm fine. Maybe I would have lost. It's like, Maybe I would have lost against Vortex, and then it's Vortex and Marine in the final. Like, who the fuck knows? I don't like to play what-if games because it's kind of stupid and silly, and it just kind of discredits my win in a way. Or not in a way, it discredits my win, I think. I practiced with MarineLord, like I said, before the event, and one of the biggest confidence boosters I actually got during the event was when we arrived. MarineLord didn't want to practice because we were going to play each other because we kept winning. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So when he beat me here, I said, okay, let's practice now. And he said, no, I don't want to play. And I was like, oh, do you want to play later? He's like, no, I'm not playing with you. And I said, why? And he's like, I don't want to play with you. And I said, why? We practiced when we were home. And he said, because now you're my competitor and I'm probably going to play you in either semifinals or finals. That's when I realized that even though he beat me, he was like, oh shit, like I can actually lose to this guy. So I think he went from, oh, I can practice with Beastyqt, he's not dangerous, to like, oh shit, I can lose to this guy, so I don't want to give him more intel. And for me, he probably didn't realize, but for me that was a great confidence boost. Because I was like, if he doesn't want to practice against me for that reason, then I can actually win against him. Which, by the way, I'll be honest, before the tournament, when I was home, I thought I cannot beat MarineLord. Like, I thought if we meet in the semis or finals, I would lose. But when he said that, and he just refused to practice, which, by the way, I get. Like, if you consider someone your competitor, and as someone that you might meet in the finals, I understand. Like, you don't want to give me practice if you see me as the guy who might beat you. So that was fine. I have nothing against MarineLord, by the way, just want to make it clear. I have nothing against MarineLord for that. But it gave me like a good confidence boost. And I you know, he said I don't want to practice. I heard a compliment. So yeah, I felt super good about that, right? And I was like, who are you going to practice? Are you going to go on the ladder? And he's like, no, I'm just going to practice with people who drop out of the tournament. And I was like, okay, sure. And another funny story. When MarineLord lost to Linok, I was watching with Mista, and Mista looks over at me, and he's like, I guess you should have practiced with you. And I was like, I guess so. But yeah, I have no ill will towards MarineLord for that. Like, I get his point of view. You do what you gotta do to have the highest chance of winning. So if that's what he thought, I think that's fine, and it's a valid thing. So yeah, if I play MarineLord in the finals, would I have won? I don't know. I thought I had a good chance. I thought it would have been close if that was the case. But in semifinals, I thought MarineLord would beat Linok. And I advanced to the finals first, right? Because I played Vortex first. And I was confident either way that I can win the whole thing. Like, I wasn't like, oh god, if I get MarineLord, I'm second place. Like, I was confident in winning, so who knows? I guess we'll see for Golden League if we meet. Like, let's say we play Golden League and I beat him. That doesn't mean I would have beaten him here as well. Like, who the fuck knows, right? Like, we can't go back in time and play what-ifs. Maybe I'll go in Golden League and I'll lose to MarineLord, right? Maybe I'll lose in the first 3 tournaments and then in the finals I'll beat him. Like, that doesn't mean anything for this tournament, because that's what happened. Like, he lost to Linok, I beat Linok, right? So that's kind of how it goes. I saw a lot of comments as well from people online, like saying that, you know, if MarineLord didn't lose against Linok, he would have won the whole thing and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, if I didn't lose in StarCraft 2 when I went to tournaments, I would have won them all. No shit, Sherlock. Like, it's just stupid. Like, I'm pretty sure if this event is played this week again, we would have probably had a different winner, because I do think that all the players here were extremely close in skill. Like, I don't think there was anyone here who was like, oh, that guy's just worse. Like, I'll be honest, Viper got farmed in the tournament itself. Like, he got buffed pretty hard. But when Viper was out, he was beating a lot of the players that were still in the tournament in practice. That doesn't mean that Viper's the worst. He just lost the games. So yeah, if we played it today or this week, would I have won the event? Maybe. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe someone else would. Maybe I wouldn't advance from the group stage. Like, it's hard to say. So it's hard to point out who the best player is by skill. I think at the end of the day, what matters is who provides the results. And and obviously like it's me saying that while I won the tournament, but like you guys know, when I played Winter Series, I lost in round of 8 every time, and I said, well, I'm rank 1 on the ladder, but I can't do shit in tournaments. So it's like, that's just how it is. So yeah, that's my opinion on the results in the whole tournament. Obviously, I think still Leenock is a very good player, and he beat fucking MarineLord. Like, let's not discredit his win for that as well, right? Like, you don't beat someone in a best of 7 by having luck. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how that works. And also, yeah, he didn't beat him. Like, the series was one-sided for Leenock, so yeah. Yeah, with all that being said, super happy. I was so fucking happy when I won. Honestly, the event was kind of just getting better and better, and I thought the ending of it would be the best, but it was the worst for me, right? So I told you all the good stuff, but honestly, the ending and the aftermath was just, it was awful experience for me. First, I got flamed a lot, insulted for making a siege tower against MarineLord. Literally no one gave a fuck, and I got called piece of shit, arrogant, loser, unsportsmanship-like. I got PM'd on social media that I'm a shitter and they hope I lose. In the group stage interview here with Leenock, in the interview I said I promised a Leenock 3-0, but I failed him and it was a 3-1. That's what I said. I got extremely flamed for that as well, because again, I was told I was arrogant and piece of shit, and how could I say that to Leenock? Meanwhile, right, the moment those games ended, I went and I played fucking table tennis against Leenock. Like, I played table tennis with Leenock every day. And where that came from is Leenock and I were joking like for 2 days. Like, I was like, Leenock, because he doesn't speak English very well. And I was like, Leenock, me 3-0? You? And he's like, no, me 3-0 you. Like, maybe I'm just delusional. Maybe I'm like socially retarded. But I don't feel like I did something terrible in these situations. Like, I thought they were harmless banter, like funny things. I tried to like make the tournament fun, to be like funny in an interview, or you know, in MarineLord's game, to do something funny, because at that point we were both best 2 players by results. We were 2-0, 2-0, so I was like, oh, it'd be funny if I make a siege tower against him. Apparently not. So that kind of bummed me out quite a bit. There was another thing, I don't know what I did, but I got flamed for that too. And I was just like, after that, I just kind of didn't say shit in the interviews because I didn't want to deal with it. Like, it was just too negative and just, yeah. Also, like I said, I didn't like the comments of some people at the event saying, oh, MarineLord's still the best player, even though he lost, which, again, I found fucking weird and very, like, disrespectful towards me. While I'm there, by the way. Like, you can have your opinion, but I just won, and it's just weird. Oh, also, for the people saying just ignore it, please don't give me advice like that, guys. Unless you have been in the spotlight and there's hundreds of people flaming and shitting on you, don't say just ignore it, okay? Like, that's not how that works. Because if I look at you right in the camera, right, and insult you, you're gonna be offended. So how, like, most people on Twitch, if I insult everyone, you're gonna be offended. There's hundreds of people online that do that to players or casters at times. So it's like, you can't just ignore it, right? That's not how it works. It's like if I come next to you and I just bitch slap you and I'm like, just ignore it. Don't get bothered by it, dude. It's okay. Anyway, it affects me greatly mentally, and it wears me down quite a bit. And if you think that there's some streamer online or pro player that doesn't get worn out by that and bummed out, then you are lacking extreme social awareness to how emotions and how the world works. Just because someone is a personality or a famous player or a streamer, that doesn't mean that I'm getting paid to be insulted and shit on. Like, I'm getting paid to play the game. So, you know, just because a fighter is fighting in MMA doesn't mean he doesn't feel pain when he gets hit. Just endure the pain, bro. Yeah, it still hurts, you know? So, yeah. Now going into the finals. So I win the tournament. I'm fucking happy, you know. I'm fist pumping, great. I'm like, you know, going to the couch. I had like the biggest smile on my face. And the winner's interview was very short. Like, I got asked like almost nothing about the games. Which previous days, like, there was like a discussion from game to game, I feel like. There was like no real discussion. It was like, how do you feel, yada yada. How was your preparation? And then that was just kind of it. By the way, I wanna say something before I go on. I really like Nilly. Nilly was like super generous, super nice, super coming forward with everything we needed, me or any other player. He was there. Everything was sorted. I have nothing bad to say regarding how he handled everything at that point. Everything was perfect, honestly. I've been to a lot of StarCraft 2 tournaments. It was a great tournament. So I just want to say that so that people... I don't want to turn this into me against Nilly. I like Nilly. We even had a funny moment where he said that he thought I was an asshole from my stream. And he's like, but you're not. I like you. Because he's, you know, he's German. He's like super serious. So... I have nothing against him. I hung out with Nilly. I talked the fuck ton with him. And I think what he did, he didn't mean it in a bad way or negative way. I don't think there was any ill will from him. Like, I don't think for a moment he did this on purpose. With that being said, Nilly says, you guys can go. I'll do my ending speech now. So I thought that the ending speech is going to be, guys, that was a great tournament. Thank you everyone so much. Thank you to the production team. Thank you for this. Yada yada. Have a good one. Peace out. That's what ending speeches usually are to the tournaments I've been to. I was like, yeah, I'll stay. You know. Then proceeds what was a minute, but it felt like eternity for me. If he said, hey, you know, viewership wasn't as expected, but great event everyone, fucking great tournament, great performance by the players, thank you everyone, peace out, wouldn't mind it. I felt that my win was given less attention than how bad the viewership was. And he kind of started talking about it. I was like, okay, you know, kind of weird that he's bringing that up, considering I'm right there. But then proceeded what I thought was eternity of him just going how bad the viewership was, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, do I leave? Do I stay? I don't know what to do. I don't know what the fuck to say, because I was sitting there with my shit-eating grin because I just won the tournament. And he's just kind of bashing the tournament, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like, it was just awkward for me. In the moment, to be fair, in the moment, I was super happy. In the moment, it was super fucking weird, but that was it. It was weird. I didn't feel anything else. I didn't feel like, why would you say that or anything? I just felt like it was weird, but I was so happy with my win, that I was just I was just smiling the whole time, you know. So what ends up happening is after that, I hear the comments about how MarineLord's still the best player, and I'm just like 5 minutes after my win, I'm kind of already bummed out. Like, it should be celebrated, but it's kind of a shitty situation. I go home, or I go to the hotel, you know, everyone's texting me, grats, my family's calling me, Marika is calling me, like, everyone's celebrating, I'm fucking happy, you know, like, couldn't stop smiling, everything's great. The next day, almost everyone leaves. I go to Nilly's apartment, and he asks me, do you think I shouldn't have said what I said. And I said, yeah, I don't think that was the right time. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I think that it's very justified. You had higher expectations, but that was not the time or place. You could have made a video. You could have said it on your own stream. This was just me and him, by the way, one-on-one. And I just said, like, I thought it was completely mistimed, especially because I do think you did a great job in the whole tournament. I thought the tournament was great, and I'm not saying this because I won it, but I thought that production was great. I thought that little clips they had between the highlights were great. The fucking overlay was great. There was no downtime for the tournament, as far as I know, or maybe very little. I thought the matches throughout the whole tournament, maybe finals was a bit one-sided, but the matches throughout the whole tournament was insane. I thought that the meta at the tournament was great. Just the quality of games was great, right? And I told him that. And I said that, yes, maybe there wasn't as many viewers as you'd like, but people were extremely hyped about the whole thing, and the tournament kind of ended on a shit note where it didn't need to, right? He could have said, hey guys, thanks for watching. Great event. Thanks to production team. Peace out. Thank you so much. Every viewer would be happy. They would go offline and everything would be great, right? And then next day he could have made a video, said the viewership sucked, and went on about it. I don't think there's any issue with that. But I did tell him that that was mistimed and he shouldn't have done it. And I do think that he should address it, because it was kind of weird. But still, at that point, I didn't really feel negative towards the whole experience. Again, I thought it was weird, but I didn't feel negative about the whole experience. What proceeds to happen is, I don't know how to say this without me sounding narcissistic, but we just had a $100,000 tournament. A first LAN tournament AOE4. The biggest tournament that AOE4 happened, right? 12 hours before that, I won the tournament. And again, I don't, please, by the way, please do not like go on forums and post like, oh, Beasty won, let's talk about that. I don't want that. That is not the point. There hasn't been even 12 hours. There was zero discussion about the tournament. All the posts were about Nilly, about the low viewership, about just those two things. Nothing else. And that's when I started feeling bad about how it ended. And I was like, you know, that was kind of fucked up, actually. Like, I was like, now when I think about it, that was kind of fucked up. And you know what also annoyed me? I'm not going to call out streamers or YouTubers, but there were a couple of streamers / YouTubers that were like, oh man, I support Nilly because what he said needed to be said. And I'm sure Beasty didn't mind because Nilly spent months of organizing that tournament. And I'm like, I spent 12 years of pro gaming for this moment. Like, that was my moment. Like, what the fuck you mean he organized tournaments for months? I've been gaming since I was 4 years old, dude. The one thing I wanted more than anything is winning a tournament. Like, that was my fucking win. That was my moment. It took me like 1 or 2 days since that to feel this way. And again, I have no ill intent towards Nilly. I don't think he did this on purpose. I honestly think he just did not think this one through at all. I think he thought too much about how much he invested and how much effort he put in, but didn't stop for one moment to think how much the tournament win went for me. And that was the big issue. And honestly, like, I felt better before I won the tournament than after. Like, I felt that my moment was completely robbed with that speech. I know some people might think I'm overreacting, but that's how I feel. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not expecting people to talk about this for fucking months. But I didn't have that moment for more than 2 minutes. It took me 2 minutes to get from the game room to the interview and for that to happen. My shit lasted 2 minutes. like what was supposed to be a celebration of first AOE4 LAN and me winning and me having my moment turned into discussion about viewer base. And like so much support for Nilly. Like, oh, poor Nilly. Yeah, it fucking sucks to get views, dude. Like, I know it sucks. I know he expected more. I discussed this with Nilly. I know that. And by the way, again, please, I don't mean to start drama with this. I don't hate Nilly. I don't want this to turn into Nilly versus me, okay? Like, I need to stress this out because I don't want people shit-talking him or making this a me versus him thing. It just sucks. And since then, like the more time passed, I'm kind of just more bummed out about it more and more. And it's like, what also made me like, what the fuck? Is the amount of people that were like, oh yeah, I don't think Beasty minded at all. I think like he gets it, dude. Like he gets it, the viewership is low and this is something that should have been talked about. Like, are you insane? I don't know. I don't disagree with any of his points. I just think it was the worst possible time. And I think if he asked anyone if he should have done that, everyone would have said no. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with discussing that. Like, the next day or 2 days from the tournament, if he said, hey, Beast, do you want to discuss viewership? I'll say, yeah, it was fucking bad. For what he expected, right? I won't disagree with him, but it was just fucked up place. And then I go on, like, forums, and literally everyone's like, oh, man, poor Nilly. And I'm just like, it just, I don't know. Like, I went on Reddit today. There was like 8 different threads about this same thing. You know the funniest part in all of this? During the interview, Nilly asked me, why do you not have stage fright anymore? And I didn't want to answer because I didn't want to bring the people down. So I just said, oh, I don't know. It just happened. Because I didn't want to end it on a shit note, right? I didn't want to make people, like, I was like, I'm not going to answer that. You know, I'll just say, oh, I don't know what happened. Because in StarCraft 2, for those that don't know, I had a lot of stage fright where I just play like shit in big tournaments and LANs and stuff like that. So he asked me like, what's the difference here? Which is a normal question. And like I said, I didn't want to answer because I didn't want to put the mood down, which is funny considering what happened after. The real answer for that is the reason why I'm not nervous anymore and why I don't care about being nervous is my dad died 5 months ago. So when that happened, you realize not many things, you know, really matter. So my attitude towards being nervous kind of changed. It just kind of went away. I don't know why, but that's how it is. I didn't feel any stage fright. What do I gotta lose? And I think when someone close to you passes away, it puts a lot of things in perspective. And you realize it's just a fucking game. Like, what does it matter if you lose or not? Like, even if I lost, who gives a fuck? Like, no one's gonna remember this tournament in 2 weeks. You know, God forbid, a year or 10 years. It's like, it doesn't matter. And yeah, when my dad passed away, you just realize how everything can end super fast. So, you know, just do whatever you can while you're here. So yeah, when he asked me that question, I thought for a moment, do I answer? And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna bring down the show. I'll just say, I don't know, it just happened. But yeah, for those who don't know, my dad followed all my games in StarCraft, even went to some tournaments with me early on. He always watched my games, whether it's an online cup or a LAN tournament, whatever. He was watching my YouTube videos every day. You know, he didn't know much about StarCraft, as in like all the details. He knew what it was about, who was ahead, who was behind, but you know, he never played it. He just watched it because I was playing it. That's the reason why I played Age of Empires 4 as much as I did, because when AOE4 came out, that was shortly after my dad passed away, so I figured I've wanted to quit StarCraft for a while, but I never had like the balls to do it, because I was like, oh, what if I lose all the viewers? What if this happens? And I was like, fuck it, right? So that's when I quit StarCraft and played AOE4. And that's why, in a fucked up way, is why I won the tournament. Is literally because my dad died. So, yeah. So this win initially was just a win. I think because my dad was always so supportive of me playing competitive games. Like, I always wanted to win in StarCraft 2 because he was watching always and, you know, wanting me to win. And it just sucks that he didn't see me win. Like, I don't believe in whatever, ghosts or, you know, whatever else, but that's why this win was important to me. Because I finally did it. Even though a bit too late. And this is where a lot of my, I guess, frustration with the situation comes from as well. Because I feel like this whole thing took away from that, what I just said. So there you go. That was my experience at N4C.